Welcome back my gentle people, this is Corner Stories and today we have a whopper of a story for you. So let's get into it. When I, 34F, was 14, I finally got my life back on track after a rough childhood. I lost my dad, was bullied at school and blah blah blah, and simply had some rough years. But I changed of school, I met my group friends and someone who a couple of months later became my first boyfriend, Tomas, 34M now. I was real happy, I felt like I had found my place finally. I was doing good on school, had a job, and at least 2 weekends a month, my group of friends and I would leave the town to go to a city in the coast or the capital city, just 2 or 3 hours away on car. I'm from Argentina, and we would go to see our favorite national rock bands. We loved it, we were big fans. It was the coolest thing to do back then in my country. Doing pogo, pushing people to get to the front fence, screaming the lyrics, etc. It doesn't seem important, but it is. Basically, when I was 16, my friend group and I head to the capital to go see one of our favorite bands, Caballeros, at a place called Cramanon. I'm not gonna explain what happened, just gonna say that the biggest tragedy of rock happened that night. Lots of victims and lots of people that ended up hurt. I ended up hurt, I still have a big scar on my thigh. 2 of my closest friends passed away that night. It was a huge mess. I can never explain what I felt. I remember I started to go out every weekend, would get drunk up my ass. I avoided talking about it at all. I would leave the room when someone even spoke about it, I kept pretending that everything was fine. That I was fine. In case you're wondering, getting alcohol in Latino America being a minor is not hard, much less in a small town. Plus, I'm from a town where, for some reason we also go out on Thursdays, and in Latino America, we usually leave clubs and parties around 6 a.m. On Fridays, I would show up drunk at school. But that was common, so no one realized. Tomas was there, supporting me through everything. Working hard to get a smile out of me every day, trying to get me to open up, but not pushing me too much either, hugging me when I needed to. And well, our relationship grew stronger, despite me going into a darker hole. When we graduated, we moved to the same city to keep studying, and I decided that it was time for me to cut the bullshit. I got a part-time job and worked hard to get the best grades, got new friends, stopped partying so much. I thought I was fine, or at least I wanted to convince myself that I was, but with time, I realized that I wasn't. We were like 20, and I remember I started to drink again. I hated myself, I felt miserable, I had nightmares with that night, and I felt even worse because I thought I was being like ungrateful. I survived at least, in my mind, feeling like this was pathetic. Mental health, well, we didn't speak much about it then. It was a taboo to go to therapy. During this time, I started to treat Tomas bad. I was mistreating. No, I never hit him or anything like that, but I would often yell at him or call him names when he was just trying to help. I kept pushing him away. I realized he deserved better than me. Tomas was always an angel, of course he did. It did not make sense to me why he was still supporting me. When he found me passed out after so much drinking on the floor, he would take me to the bathroom, bathe me, dress me and put me on bed, cook for me, clean my apartment. I only made me felt worse, I had a great man, and I was treating him like shit. He simply deserved better than me. I tried to tell him that we needed to break up, but he refused. Tomas refused and told me he would stick next to me no matter what. But I only got worse, and I felt like I was going to drag him with me, and I couldn't stand the idea of seeing him with me. So after thinking it, I made a choice. I did the only thing I knew he wouldn't forgive. Well, I told him I did it. I told him I cheated on him with a guy from my work. A friend he was jealous of. He was upset, confused, angry, sad and felt betrayed, of course. It was heartbreaking to see him like that, but I knew it was necessary. He was much better without me, I was just a dead weight back then. Anyway, he left. I simply did not see him again afterwards. I didn't call him either, didn't search for him even though I wanted to. After I graduated, I got a full-time job, and I got tired of feeling miserable. My mom got me in contact with survivors. I'm going to clarify, many survivors had self-deleted themselves or tried to, most of us ended up with serious mental health issues as you can see, and they ended up convincing me to start therapy. I stopped drinking for good, and well, it was all really hard. Finally stop avoiding reality and facing my problems, accepting that I needed help. All the process of opening up was hard, but worth it. Countless are the nights where I just stared at the phone, wondering if I should call Tomas or not. I wanted to call him, tell him I had lied, apologize for everything and thank him for everything he did for me. I have to say, Tomas did call to check up a few times, but I always decided not to pick up. I heard a lot of voicemails of him while he was drunk, asking how I could do that to him, but he would still say that he loved me and he asked me how I was. I forced myself to never answer. With time, his calls stopped, I got better and started to go back to my old self slowly. I started dating again, started to have more fun and eventually got married and had a daughter. Life did gotten better for me, but all that goes up, goes down, and my husband ended up cheating on me. Karma's a bitch, I know. I divorced him, and I was able to buy my own house and got primary custody of our daughter. My daughter has been the light of my eyes and, even with everything that happened lately, for her, would never let myself fall into that depression again. I was and still am happier than ever. Anyway, I got in contact again with Tomas like 5 months ago. He found me on Instagram and just sent me a DM, and we started to chat, to catch up about life. He also had a kid, a 5-year-old son, but he's not with his mother. It was a product of a one-night thing, and they have a good co-parenting relationship. He has him 2 weeks at month. The thing is, we started to meet up again. Just as friends at first, but then we started to hook up. We would go on dates, but we never talked about the cheating. But finally, I confessed that my feelings for him were back. Tomas told me he was feeling the same, but he wasn't sure about starting anything again with someone who had cheated. That's when I chose to finally open up about what happened in the past, about how I was feeling and how I didn't want to drag him with me, so that's why I chose to lie about cheating on him. Tomas was shocked. He got upset and I remember how he left. He called me later and told me I shouldn't have lied to him about something like cheating, that I should have just tell him that I didn't want to be with him anymore. I explained again my side, and told him I'd rather him to think real bad of me, to be real sad for a while but eventually move on, than to drag him with me, to my dark hole. He just told me that he was an adult that could make his own choices, and that he just wanted to be there for me. I told him I didn't regret what I did, but I apologized for hurting him and hung up, and we haven't talked ever since. He called me yesterday, but I didn't pick up. I wasn't ready to talk with him yet. I have been processing all this information. Despite not being the best way, all this years I believed I had made him a favor with this. That even though it hurt him, it was the best for him. Also, I was not even close to be good enough to be in a relationship. I honestly don't know. I do know it wasn't the best way, but I had no strength to reject him. I knew he would have been able to convince me that he wanted to stay with me despite everything. Relevant comments OP on not loving Tomas in the same way he loved her when they were together. OP, I do love him, and I love him like I never loved anyone in my entire life. That's why I did what I did, because, on top of everything, I couldn't even stand to keep hurting someone I loved so much. And I still love him more than anything. I'm planning on talking to him this weekend face to face, when everything is more calmed, and my daughter would be with his father. I already opened up to him about everything, apologized for what happened, how I treated him and how I handle things, but he was still upset, and honestly, he has every right to be. Anyway, thanks for the comment, I really appreciate it. Comment 2. Justifying your behaviors through explaining trauma after the fact so you don't have to hold the bag anymore is crap. Now he feels like garbage twice, and you don't have the baggage anymore. Good luck OP. I didn't actually wrote my trauma to justify my actions, but to explain why I thought it was the best choice. Explaining and justifying are two different things. Back then I felt like a dead weight to him, and like I've said, at least for me, the last thing I wanted to do was to drag someone I loved so much with me to a dark place. Of course, he felt like crap when I told him I cheated, which, like I said, I did not, but in my mind back then, it was better than for him to stay with me. Even if I had broken up with him, he would have stayed around because he is and always has been an awesome guy, but to me, he deserved better. A toxic relationship can only ruin you if you stay there. The cheating was like ripping a band-aid, it hurt, but he will eventually feel better. Now, a toxic relationship will progressively ruin you. Update. Unfortunately, my post fall on the side full of red pill incels and annoying bots that didn't even read or couldn't comprehend it, and I realized just by reading the first sentence. I don't really care, didn't even bother to read those comments to be honest, but I couldn't get much useful advices, which was what I was looking for, but I got a few, and I appreciate them, honestly. Anyway, I'm going to start by clarifying that everything I wrote about Cramanon tragedy I only wrote it for context. It was over 19 years ago. I only wrote it to explain the place where I was, how my mind worked and how I was feeling. I would never ever come to ask advice about something like that on Reddit, come on. Be serious for the love of God. I'm saying this for all the people that acted like psychiatrists and psychologists and even tried to make a diagnosis out of a Reddit post. Seriously, even if it was with good intentions, is dangerous and really irresponsible to do so. I don't have PTSD, I searched for professional help after graduating university. I graduated 13 years ago. I saw psychiatrists and psychologists, and I never got diagnosed with PTSD. I had depression and anxiety. I could never explain the amount of pain I felt after the tragedy, and how it only got worse because I didn't search for help right away. It took a lot of work, but years on therapy and support from friends and family finally made me get back to my old self. Not fully like I wanted to, but on a point, I didn't even recognize myself. I'm saying that for the ones who told me I was toxic, and I guess I was on a point. But the others were never the problem. I was so self-destructive back then that I thought the best would be to push everyone again. But like I said, that was so long ago. And I'm not even close to being like that. I repeat, I wouldn't be so irresponsible to get into another relationship, get married, and have a child. When Tomas and I first started to date again, it was like the first years of our relationship. Healthy, fun and full of love. Not like the last year of our relationship, that was definitely the worst year of my life. I've talked about it on therapy for years and years, and I put it behind years ago. Now is just something that marked me, but that is my past. It left me lots and lots of problems, but well, it is what it is. I survived and should be thankful for it. Anyway, now to the point. Tomas and I met up on Saturday, and things went well. We had a long talk. We talked for hours about everything. He opened up about how hurt he felt, how awful the months after our breakup was, and how he felt like I was making the choice for him. I told him that I was not only doing it for him, but also for me. I couldn't be in a relationship back then. How could I? Traumatized for whatever reason I was, back then I was so self-destructive and not nice to be around. I also told him how he might have wanted to stay, but I didn't want him to. I reminded him that I tried to break up with him many times, and he simply wouldn't listen to my reasons and apologized for it, but he also explained how he loved me more than anything and couldn't leave in that situation. And how even after he thought I had cheated, he was scared about me trying to self-delete myself. Every time there was a news about one of the survivors of Cramanon that had self-deleted, he would freak out thinking it was me. I told him I loved him so much back then and now, but at least for me, it was not healthy to maintain a relationship, it was toxic and it wouldn't have helped any of us at all. We apologized to each other, and I clarified that I want to leave all of this behind and to just be us, to finally put this in the past. He agreed. We cried, but it was tears of happiness. I hadn't been so happy in a while. I guess deep down it was what I always wanted, ever since we broke up. To be okay again and to be like we used to. I guess that I never stopped loving him, and he never stopped loving me. I always wonder where he was or if he was okay, wonder what would have happened if things had been different. But now I don't have to wonder anymore, because we're together now and that's all that matters. But, one step at a time. And that is the end of the story. That's it guys, this is where I will leave you. I hope you enjoyed the story I had for you. Please be sure to drop a like or a comment, and it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe to the channel. Until next time, be kind, be curious, and I will see you. Corner Stories signing off.